I would like to start this video with a warning. If you normally don't like talking about money, you're going to get triggered by this video, and I encourage you to try and learn something from it. Over the last 12 years, I've made over $2 million through match betting, through businesses, and through other side hustles. And as a result of doing that, I've been able to completely change my mindset around money. I'm 32 years old and I'm currently on my honeymoon in the Seychelles. Now, over the last couple of days, I was just looking through hotels and having a look at some of the prices that we are paying for these hotels, and we're staying in a hotel for the next 2 nights. That's $2,300 a night, $2,400 a night. So that's $4,800 for the next 2 nights just to stay in an accommodation. Now that includes half board, doesn't include lunch. It's a really nice hotel, comes with a premium price tag. The one behind me that I'm staying on now is a mini island which has 5 rooms. That one was only $700 a night. But over the next week, conservatively, we have spent around $10,000 in accommodation costs. The flight here and back costs 16,000 Australian dollars. We are flying business class on the way back. And if you look at the honeymoon accommodation and the flights in isolation, we're looking at over $35,000 in costs. Now, that's for about 3.5 weeks of accommodation. Now, for some people, the price of tonight's accommodation is their entire net worth. Now, I want to say something else because it might sound like I'm a little bit arrogant right now saying all of this, and I don't care if I do, because I want to actually humble myself here and tell you that although we're staying in nice accommodation, although we can do all of this stuff, there are people out there that make me personally look like a pleb, and I'm very aware of this. I am not a super wealthy person. I don't claim to be, but I do want to put it into context. Comparing myself to people out there who are the average, I'm well ahead. But comparing myself to super wealthy people like Hormozy and even richer people than that, I'm a pleb. But I'm not here to put myself on a spectrum of hierarchy. I just wanted to build some context. What I want to talk about is how having more money and being able to make more money, more importantly, completely changes the way in which you take financial decisions or you make financial decisions. For example, 12 years ago, in 2014, 11 years ago, I'd tried some side hustles. I'd been successful with some of them, made a couple of thousand here or there, eBay items, sold shit online, even sold anatomy models when I was studying osteopathy at university. I'd sell full-size skeleton models. I had a contact not far from me, and what I'd do is I'd get the order, and then I'd literally go to the guy's house, pick up the skeleton, and I'd make $80 on the sale. Someone would pay $180 for the skeleton. I would get it off the guy for $100, and then literally set up the sale. I didn't have to stock anything. That was an elite little side hustle that I had. Unfortunately, stopped stocking them, and I had to stop that one. But there's been numerous ones along the way. Back then, though, I would have had maybe $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 to my name, right? The entire next 2 days accommodation was my net worth at the age of 22. And looking back now, to spend my entire net worth on 2 nights accommodation would be absolutely ludicrous. Like, what the fuck? Who would do that? If you have $4,000 to your name, why the fuck would you go and spend $4,000 or $4,500, $4,800 on 2 nights accommodation? Physically, you cannot do that. And secondly, it's just dumb because you've just literally your whole life's money is gone in 2 nights. So it doesn't make logical sense. And when people hear this stuff and they don't have any money, it sounds a bit fucked up. Fast forward 6.5 years, and I'd made $250,000 from match betting. And I'd finished my university degree. My dad was sick. And now I was in a position through that last 6.5 years that I knew how to make ridiculous amounts of money in a short amount of time, which completely changed the way in which I perceive financial decisions. So this started as soon as I made my first $20,000 from match betting. I then went straight away with my best mate Hero at the time, and we flew straight to Europe, and we backpacked around Europe for about 40 days, country to country. I mean, we went from country, like city to city. It was fucked up, like 2 days, like the dumbest thing, but we learned the hard way. We just discovered a money glitch, which was match betting, and we started spending the money because we knew that we could make it. That was my first movement along the spending money spectrum because I knew how to make it. And it changed the way I live, because reality is I didn't have the luxury to go and invest $10,000, $15,000 on a overseas holiday back then because I didn't have the money. But then I made the money and I could do it. And all of a sudden, it's like, wow, I can do it, let's do it. But still, wasn't wealthy, wasn't rich, just had the ability to make money. Anyway, that continued on over the next few years. I kept making more and more money, kept going on more overseas holidays because I could, kept buying things that I knew that I could afford because I had the ability to make more money. And then fast forward all the way to end of 2019, start of 2020, and I was a little bit bored of where I was at with my life. I'd made my 250k from my match betting, and I was in a position where my dad was actually sick and he was dying. He had motor neuron disease. And even though I was an osteopath, I was in a position where I wasn't really passionate about what I was doing with my life. I was an osteopath, and I knew that deep down I was going to find something else later on in my life. And I did find that, because at the start of 2020, not before I lost $14,000 trading currency, Forex, I came across the business that I run now with 2 other directors. Started that, and my life completely changed. And now I had 2 things. I had the ability to make money, which was started from match betting, and then I now had a purpose to my making money. Because prior to that, I only knew how to make money, and I didn't have the purpose. So if I didn't have the purpose, I was a bit lost, and I was a bit depressed, and I was a bit like, what the fuck am I doing with my life? I don't actually know what the fuck I'm doing. Fully just had a bit of a midlife crisis where I'm like, I need to quit this. I need to actually turn this all off and just quit the match betting, because it's just giving me fake money. Like, yeah, it's working, it's making me money, but for what? That was the time where I was like, wow, I've actually discovered my calling. And I didn't know it at the time, but within 6 months I knew. And that's when it all changed. So from that point on, the next thing that I did was just literally just make money from making other people money. I started the business. I had the vision that it would become something pretty big. 5 years on, it has become something pretty big. And now, because our business provides value to literally thousands of people around Australia, we can live financially free lives while others are also benefiting. So I can make money as a business, as a director of the company, because people are paying us to make money. And then the consumers can also make money. And then now I get to spend my honeymoon in a place where most people cannot afford. And that's just the way the world works. And I'm not sure if I'm articulating this right, because I didn't actually have a script or anything. I just wanted to kind of rant on this video, and I'm sorry if it doesn't make sense to you, but yeah, that's where I'm at. I'll never have to worry about money again because of what I did through my 20s. Now, that doesn't mean that I get to fly private jet and business class on every flight, because I'm not yet at that level of wealth. Maybe I don't ever want to get to that level because I think it might be too much. But maybe I will, who knows? But more importantly, what I want to talk about is some of the observations that I make, or I can see, when I interact with people who are less wealthy, or have less money, or have less ability to make money, is that I observe that they're crippled mentally by money. In other words, every single second of their day, every single time a financial decision comes up, they are thinking about whether they should do it or not. For example, you might ask someone who is your friend, who has $1,000 to his name, hey, do you want to go out for dinner tonight? And that person says, hey, nah, can't really afford it. Or like, hey, do you want to go overseas in 6 months' time? Nah, I don't have the money. And then every single day, right, you are faced with these little decisions and these little thoughts around how money is stopping you from doing what you want to do. And that chews your mental bandwidth. If you don't know what mental bandwidth is, it's just like your total amount of thinking space or brain power, where if you are constantly wasting it on shit, then you cannot use it for things that actually are powerful. For example, if I'm wasting my brain on minor tasks, admin tasks, doing customer service and things that I shouldn't be doing as a business company director, then guess what? I won't be able to do the tasks that move the business forward, that are higher leverage. I want to make that a little bit more relatable, but hopefully that makes sense. But if you're wasting your time and energy always thinking about minor decisions around how much this costs and how much this costs and whether you should do this because you don't have enough money or whether you should do that, eventually every single fucking thing that you go through is always just going to be attached to money because you don't know how to make it and you don't have it. And if you make it and learn how to make way more, and you can get that far ahead of your expenses so that you can save an enormous amount of money and accrue an enormous amount of money. I hate the word save because save means you don't spend money on anything. But if you can get way more income via expenses, you then accumulate this war chest, which I love the word war chest, where you then have this mental bandwidth and breathing space to be able to do whatever the fuck you want without needing to get paid every single day or every single week just to survive and pay your rent. And I cannot explain to you the power of being able to have this war chest. And if you are listening to this as a 18-year-old, 19-year-old, 20-year-old, fucking 30-year-old, I don't care how old you are, if you can accrue a war chest, your life will change forever, believe it or not. And that's why the old saying of the rich get richer, the poor get poorer couldn't be more true. And we're seeing this right now in the world because of the way that the higher powers have actually manipulated the world to markets to crash, and through the lockdowns of 2020 and the COVID bullshit that happened in 2020, all this stuff was designed to make the poor poorer and the rich richer. And that's happened over the past 5 years and will continue to happen, because what happens to the rich is because they know how to make money, they just keep making more money because the poor make the opportunity for the rich to get richer. It's the same thing if you want to break down the betting industry in Australia, right? The bookmakers and the Tuts Lotto companies, they have the saying of life could be a dream. That is the Tuts Lotto company's motto in Australia. Life could be a dream. So that is inevitably selling hope to poor people. And because poor people are more desperate, they make illogical decisions. It's the same as Squid Game. If you've ever watched Squid Game, the second Squid Game is a massive example of this. And you watch these people, believe it or not, keep voting to stay there because potentially they are going to survive and have their debt removed. But what they don't consider, whether they know this or whether they're just blinded by the financial crippledness of their mind, is that only one person is going to be that person who survives and is debt free. One out of like 1,000 or whatever it is. So the odds of survival are literally almost zero. Yet these people continue to vote to stay because their mindset is, I need to get my debt back. And as stupid as this is, that is how some people who are poor make their decisions. Because they're that far away from wealthiness, they continue to make shit decisions, which further put them in a poorer financial position. I don't know if this will ever get posted because it's quite aimless. I'd love to sort of script this up so it's actually properly put together. I hope I'm not coming across as some fucking guru, because I don't want to be. I'm not a guru. I'm just explaining how I think now v how I used to think. And maybe I should frame it more like that. I used to count every single fucking cent that I owned. I used to be a fucking tight ass. I used to sit there and worry about the decisions that I made with money. I used to worry about if someone paid $3 less than me when we went to dinner, when we were supposed to pay $32.45 each. And then I started making money, and then I got to a position where my company was making a lot of money because we owned a very valuable company for its consumers. Our consumers made a lot of money. They pay us, then we make a lot of money. And now I'm in a position where I don't have to worry about money ever again. So I don't care about going to dinner and paying for all 7 people's dinners because I have the money to do that. Or I don't have the care to go and save $14. Hey, sorry. Hey, boss.
Good?
Yeah, how are you?
Good.
Good? Where are you going?
To Pralin.
Pralin, yeah. Nice. As I was saying, sorry, I got interrupted. But nowadays, I respect my time and my energy more than my money. And there is a saying that says, people will pay with the currency they value the least. Try and actually comprehend that. People pay with the currency that they value the least. Now, 10 years ago, I valued my money more than my time and energy. We only have 3 currencies as humans: time, energy, and money. The poor value money more than their time and energy because they don't have any money. So it would make no logical sense for them to try and save time and energy, because if they spent money, they would have no money left, and therefore they would die because they would not be able to eat. Whereas now, I will spend money to save time and energy, leverage. And this is what the wealthy do. The wealthy do this more and more because they understand that the more time and energy they have, the more money they can make. And you can use this for a number of different examples. One that I love to use is that if, for example, now, if I feel incompetent at something, if I have a skill issue, if I don't know something, if I don't have the skills to do something, if I don't have the experience to do something, guess what? Instead of trying to learn it and it takes me 2, 3, 4, 5 years to actually get really good at that thing, I'm just going to pay someone to do it because I have the money. So in that time, I actually spend money for somebody else to do it for me, or for somebody else to teach me at a faster rate than I could have done it myself, because they're more experienced, more knowledgeable, more skillful than me. And guess what? I gained their knowledge, skill, and experience in a fraction of the time because I paid them money. So inevitably, I've saved time and I've saved my energy. And guess what? This is the kicker that people don't understand. You end up making more money anyway. Whereas a poor person with a poor man's mindset will go into that situation and they'll think, oh fuck, yeah, I can do this myself. I can learn how to do that. And then they waste years, time and energy, and inevitably they get into a position 5 years later where they might be able to get to that level. Maybe, but it's unlikely. And they've saved their money, so they have the fee that they would have paid to get that person, or to buy their shit, or to buy their knowledge, whatever it was that they're selling. And they get in a position where they're like, oh yeah, I saved my money. I now have that money that I got from not paying it. And it's like, yeah, but you lost 5 years and you wouldn't have been in the same position if you paid, because if you paid, you would now be 5 years ahead of where you are now, and you probably would have learnt 1,000 other things that you wouldn't have learned by getting to that level quicker. And guess what? You would have made way less money because your progress was slower. It's funny because that's an example of the rich getting richer and the poor getting poorer, because the rich just go, yeah, cool, I have money, I'll spend it, I'll save my time and energy, I'll progress to the next level way faster. The poor doesn't have the money, so they can't do the spend money to make more money, so they just get stuck. I would love to know if this is actually valuable to anyone, because I don't know if I'm explaining it properly. I need to get better at explaining my thoughts so that I can share with people how this actually has helped me. But it's one of the biggest things that I have ever learnt being on this planet, is being really transactional with money. Having money to be able to just leverage more money and do what you want is the biggest thing that I think is the most powerful thing in my life, in terms of that ability is just so liberating and so much leverage. Like I just had a wedding as well, right? We launched, I think it cost 67 grand for the wedding. We got some payments from family members, which helped enormously. And we also got mainly cash from the attendees. So it didn't actually cost us 67 grand. Say it cost us roughly a third of that in terms of out of our pocket. But like the honeymoon here will cost us 35, 40, maybe a little bit more. I promise you, I have not thought once about the money that has been spent on either of those two things, because I don't care, because I have it and I know how to make more of it. I hate saying this shit, because like it makes me sound like I'm a fucking hero who's just like this arrogant fuckwit who's like a hero of money, when I'm not. I just want more people to understand how that feeling and that way of living is something that I would encourage every single person to try and experience once in their life. Because what you'll discover through that time is you can't go back. That's the thing. I can't go back to that other mindset where I'm cent counting, where I'm worrying about money every single hour, where I'm making decisions where I say no to things because I don't have enough money. that life is gone for me. And once you discover this way of making more money and having a more abundance mindset, you can't go back. You fully can't go back. It's actually like really hard to understand this until you do it. But I wish every single person one day gets to experience this mindset, because you'll be amazed as to how different your life is once you get through that wall of being crippled financially. And obviously not everyone can do this. Obviously not everyone has the mental fortitude, the willpower, the initiative to go out of their way to learn how to make more money or to learn money making skills. Always get it on some of my comments. The other day someone said, hey, I'm a bus driver, I make $75,000 a year, I can't pay for anything, I've got no more money. And he's chosen to play victim there because he's going on our YouTube comments complaining. It's like, how the fuck does that help you, bro? Like, how does complaining on a YouTube comment of a random YouTube channel help you to get more money or to get out of your crippled financial situation? It's really, really challenging sometimes to hear victim mindsets of people like that, because reality is there is money everywhere if you know how to make it. There is money everywhere if you put the time and effort into learning how to do it. There's fucking opportunity everywhere. There is opportunity everywhere. And if people, one, spent less on the shit that they don't need, and two, spent their time and energy outside of their work hours of their 9 to 5, just accruing skills, accumulating knowledge, accumulating experiences, accumulating skills that they don't currently have, guess what? In a few months' time, they will have more skills, they will have more knowledge, and they'll have more experience. And guess what? They'll be on their way to making more money. The only way to get out of your situation if you are crippled financially is to learn how to make more money. I have said this concept literally hundreds of times before, and I'll say it again. You have two options when you are someone who is struggling to get ahead. Getting ahead means putting more money in your pocket, essentially earning more than your expenses. Now, the way most people think when things start going up in price, if we take Australia right now, there is a cost of living crisis apparently because everything has gone up in price. It has, right? But guess what? During that time, people who know how to make more money are making way more money at a greater rate than they were before. And that's because they know how to do it. Cost of living's gone up for me, but I don't have a fucking clue as to how much things cost these days. I have no idea, fully no idea, because I don't check it. Laura does the groceries, she buys things, I have no idea how much they cost, fully none. But that's because I've learned how to make even more money than I was 2 years ago and 5 years ago and 10 years ago. So I know that no matter what happens, I'm going to be in a position where I'm always going to be making more than the expenses. In other words, I'm accruing more and more money so that I have more and more financial freedom. You can either do one of two things. You can try and save money by spending less, or you can try and make more money by learning more skills, more knowledge, more experience. And over the course of a 10-year period, only one of those will get you into a position where you never have to worry about money again. And I'll tell you for free, it's not the one that saves money. Yes, if you save more money and you spend less, you will eventually get more ahead than you are right now. But there is a cap on how much you can spend, in terms of you can't get your spendings to zero. There is not a cap on how much you can make. So let's just say your expenses are $30,000 a year in Australia. That would be quite low. That includes rent and everything, but you could easily do that if you wanted to. But let's just say your income is $65,000, which is the median salary in Australia, and you manage to get your expenses down to $30,000, which would be living pretty frugally. Like, you'd be living very, very much like a cent counter, not really spending much money on anything else except the necessities. It'd be a pretty shitty life. But if you want to do that, you'll be able to accrue $35,000 per year in war chest money, right? Awesome, $35,000 a year, but like in 10 years you've accrued $350,000. That's assuming like you haven't got paid more over that time, or you haven't spent more. $350,000. That's barely like a house, which is pretty fucked. Whereas if you do this in your hours outside of your 9 to 5, in other words, your 5 to 9, that is 16 hours a day. 16 hours a day. Obviously you sleep for 8 hours as well, so let's wipe off 8. That you got 8 hours left in your day. In those 8 hours, that's where you should be learning how to make more money. You should be literally going and consuming as much knowledge and shit as you can as many times per week as possible. And if you did 10 hours a week or 20 hours a week and you did that for literally like 3 months, I'll tell you one thing for free. You will have more money and have more skills, more knowledge, more experience at the end of that 3-month period, because you would have consumed hours, literally a few hundred hours doing that. If you did 20 hours a week for 12 weeks, that's 240 hours of study on something that you currently don't know how to do. Imagine how much you're going to learn in that time. And then you do that for 6 months, 12 months, guess what? 12 months time, you'll be unrecognizable. Your financial situation will be unrecognizable. But back to what I was saying though, there is no cap on how much you can make, but there is a cap on how much you can spend, in terms of you can't get your spending to zero. So if you suddenly, after 12 months, you go and earn your 65,000 median salary at whatever it is you're doing, and you go and learn skills over the next 3 to 6 months, and then you earn $30,000 as a side hustle in the next 6 months, 12 months, and then in 2 years, you then make 50,000 with your side hustle, and then 100,000, and then guess what? Your income has far outweighed your expenses, and you've started to accumulate that war chest of money that gets you out of that financially crippled headspace. Because what it'll do is it'll teach you how to have skills so that you can turn on a tap whenever you want to make more money. That's what I did. I didn't consciously choose this, it just happened. I learned how to make more money, and then I realized that I now have skills to be able to turn on taps whenever I want to make money. You can insert me into any place in the world, I'll know how to make money, because I understand the fundamentals of money making. And that's just not, I didn't get lucky, I fucking learnt it, right? Identify opportunities, make money. Same thing, it's the same formula wherever you go in the world, no matter it is where you are. Now, I don't want to say this without context, because there will be people saying, oh, but poor people in Africa, they can't make money. I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about people in Western society who have the same fucking opportunities that everyone else does, literally in the same country. So do whatever you want. I hope this video helped you. It was a fucking long rant. I need to get better at explaining things more succinctly, but that's something I know I need to work on consciously. But sometimes it's good to have a rant. But just know that you are in control of your financial situation. Don't blame others. Don't be a victim for your financial situation. You can take the opportunities that are there to be taken if you want them. Anyway, I'll be interested to see how this actually goes down on YouTube. Let me know if it's helped you. Let me know if you have learnt anything. Let me know if you think I'm a fuckwit. Either of those comments I'll happily read and reply to. Anyway, I'm going to enjoy some of my honeymoon. Tonight we're going to that really, really cool hotel. I'll be sure to take some footage. I'll probably add it to this video as B-roll over the top. But I've really enjoyed staying at this little island here in Seychelles. It's about 300 meters off the mainland of Praslin. This is Praslin Island. And this is, I think it's called, here we go, actually here, Chav Saru Relay Private Island. Use JP code at checkout for 10% off. Nah, I'm just joking, but that would be a really good way to make more money. I could set up an affiliate code to this island. If I had more followers, more people would go to this island and I'd probably get a commission. Just ways. There's always ways. There's always ways to make more money if you're looking. Just get out of that scarcity mindset and jump into the world of abundance, and your life will completely change. Anyway, see you next time. Cheers.